Welcome to Education in Alexandria. The education of young Alexandrians did not differ from the one generally dispensed elsewhere in ancient Greece. At the age of 7, the child was taken in charge by a tutor, who then became responsible for instilling an elementary education as well as good moral principles. Teaching was generally done outside, in the open air. In the gymnasium, students were taught not only sports, but also topics such as rhetoric, philosophy, music, and poetry, all things deemed essential to one's education at the time. Here, both girls and boys are shown attending a class given by one of the rhetoricians of the era. The team made the choice to show both genders attending class within the context of the game world. Even though it is historically inaccurate, the team felt it was not necessary to prioritize historical sexism over inclusive gameplay.
There is so much to discover.
Welcome to Introduction to Alexandria. After conquering Egypt in 331 BCE, Alexander the Great decided to build a new city, which, as per his habit, he named after himself. After his death, Alexandria quickly became the capital city of the Ptolemaic kingdom and the most important city of the Greek world. The city was built between the Mediterranean Sea and Lake Mareotis, which resulted in Alexandria becoming a crucial cultural hub and trading center. Sumptuous buildings could be seen wherever one turned their gaze. The royal palaces, the many temples, the gymnasium, lush public gardens, and large avenues. With its incomparable beauty and advantageous geographic location, Alexandria attracted foreigners, intellectuals, and traders. One of the most cosmopolitan cities of the ancient world, Alexandria supplanted even Athens as the most important Greek city in history. Egyptian obelisks were highly prized by Roman architects. While Roman design previously favored the use of a single monument, Egyptian obelisks tended to come in pairs and were generally located at the entrance of temples. Several ancient Egyptian obelisks are still in existence today, though many are spread out across the world in locations such as Paris, Rome, New York, and London. All of this shows that Alexandria was significantly influenced by the rich past of Egypt. Alexandria had several main streets. Its most famous artery was the Canopic Way. It was lined with sumptuous buildings, houses, and temples, and was roughly 8 kilometers in length. This street was one of the most important shipping entrances to Alexandria and often hosted processions and festivals.
Θεοί, αδαΐσες την! Οφθαλμούς είναι αιώρων από...
Μάλακε!
Το γεγονός είναι την... Αμελή άνθρωπε, ου κοράν δίνασε!
The width of the street, 30 meters, was abnormally large even by Greek standards. This is likely because the Canopic Way was made in a short span of time and based on an urban plan, as opposed to being slowly built over time, as was usual for the era.
Παύλε, αμελή άνθρωπε, ου κοράν δίνασε!
5 και 11.
Της αμελίας!
The Canopic Way originated in the western cemeteries, skirted the gymnasium, and then exited the city to head east through massive doorways towards Canopus. This structure was known as the canopic door.
Χαίρε, τι πράττεις?
Χαίρον δόνσε.
Μάλλα χαίρε.
Welcome to the Great Library of Alexandria. Near the district of royal palaces and within the Moseon was the most famous library of all antiquity. The Library of Alexandria was built to house all of human knowledge. At its pinnacle, the library was believed to contain over 700,000 parchments. Throughout the centuries, fires and wars between Christianity and paganism destroyed the library, leaving nothing behind. The loss of the building, and more importantly, its vast collection, is immeasurable. As no descriptions are available, the team's rendition of the Library of Alexandria was inspired by the visuals of the Library of Chalcis at Ephesus.
Σημαίων οίκων και χαρίεν οικοδομίζεστε, ή αγέλμεου γλυφίσεστε, εκεί να μαξίτε. Εμπορεύστοτας, πορτίου ιός, μάρμαρο, είναι λιβύον.
While much of the collection was purchased at the government's expense, the library also obtained books through other means. Any books owned by travelers coming through the city were seized to be copied for the library. The copy would then be returned to the owner, and the original entered into the library's collection.
Καιρό οίκων δεκλαθμών και δυρμών οικούστησαν Λέξιτη. Ότι αληθείαν μήπων, ούχι γνωσκόμην και προγέντερον πάση. Τι τον κάδον φέρει. Λέγονε μου, καρίσουδίν, ορκαίωση των θεών. Σίγαρε δια την ενδιαφέροντσε. Σύζυγον δε καταλήψαστε τα.
Βραδίνενε, τιμήν δε αλέτην πρέπον.
Τες αρχηγνώσκουσαν την αρχήριαν του οίκου
Alexandria offered unrivaled intellectual and cultural attractions. Eminent scholars from Athens, Rhodes, and other Greek centers traveled to the city to learn and engage with other free thinkers. Both the Mouseion and the library were at the center of groundbreaking ideas and creative expression.
Ευδαιμονείς όταν και αυτήν λέγονέ μου ούκαρι σου
Ου καλός έχει.
αρχαίωση των θεών. Σίγαρε ρόδια.
The great minds of antiquity were usually well versed in many disciplines, which were often associated to specific schools of thought. The Peripatetics, the Stoics, and the Cynics were among the most well-known schools of the time. It is clear that Alexandria lived up to its fundamental role as a city for intellectuals, nurturing many great minds whose impact reverberates through our modern world.
Το γεγονός είναι αυτός εκείνη λέξαντα το μέγα σφάλμα του χυμώστε και χωνίνη πληρούσε το παρά της πέδας εγώ.
Hypatia of Alexandria was a Greek mathematician, philosopher, astronomer, and inventor. Though born in Greece, she eventually migrated to Alexandria, like many great minds of the time. It is there that she became the head of the Neoplatonist school of Alexandria. From most accounts, she was highly respected by her fellow Alexandrians, both as a teacher and a philosopher. With her death, the age of great ancient scientific discoveries came to an end. Callimachus was born in Cyrene and educated in Athens. After his studies, he moved to Alexandria to work in the Great Library. A poet and a critic, he strongly rejected the epic format of Homeric poems and instead fervently supported a shorter, more judiciously formulated style of poetry. His epigrams and elegiac poems were emulated by later poets. His work was extremely popular, second only to Homer's own works.
Ω Τάλλας, θύε το Θεό, και προσεύχου δια την νίκη του στρατού. Δόξα της Θεής, τετέλεστε επιτέλους. Χάριν οφείλω της Θεής,
It was in Alexandria that mathematician Euclid, the father of geometry, wrote the Elements, laying out the foundational work of what would become modern algebra and number theory. Euclidean geometry would become one of the most influential systems in the evolution of mathematics.
Χτυπήσει τους εργάτες, δουλεύει πλέον ημερησίως. Μάγειρε, τα μαγειρευόμενα όσπρια σκληρά εισήν. Απορριθέτωσαν ταύτα και μαγείρευσον άρνιον
How do you calculate the circumference of the Earth? With a camel, 2 sticks, and shadows cast by the sun. This is what Eratosthenes of Cyrene described in his principal work, Geography, while he was director of the Great Library of Alexandria. He is credited for the invention of the armillary spear around 250 BCE.
Γραμματεύ, πού είναι στην εισφαγή?
Ουθενές.
Θέλω σημειώσετε την δέλτον αποστολή. Μάλαχε.
Αχ, μωρέων πάντων λεγόμενα, εγώ
Καλώς
της
ήρθατε.
Θεό. Που γαρανάγκα το όντιεν πληγήν το μοιράκι, χείριστος, χρήτη μωρίς θενήν.
Από του οίκου του κλαθμούς, δεν άκουσαν, φεύγει, τέκνον δίπλη γίνει αυτής πάλι.
The earliest known and most complete armillary sphere of antiquity was the meteoroscopion of Alexandria, with an imposing 9 rings compared to the 3 or 4 of most other astrolabes. Known as the zodiac krikatoi amongst the Greeks, the meteoroscopion was used to determine the location of celestial bodies around the Earth. Every self-respecting astronomer of antiquity would have sought to use this tool to better understand the celestial movements.
Φεύγει, τι πάτε σφάλμα δεν γαρμέγαν, κατάστασης οργίζειν με.
Τι γεγονή εν τις αγώνες πάλι.
Χαίρε. Τι πράττεις?
Τι, τούτο θαύμα.
Pythagoras of Samos was a well-known and respected philosopher and mathematician. He is best known for the Pythagorean theorem. However, there is proof that the theorem existed in Babylonia and India long before Pythagoras was born, casting some doubts as to who exactly originated the theorem.
Γραμματεύ, κάλει τον Ταμιάν να δώσω αυτόν αγγύρια προς το κοινόν ταμείο. Η πόναξ έθραυσε τίνα αγγεία λευρού. Σιωπέ, κόσμησαν το γραφείο να απελθέντο σε μου και σου. Ο γραμματεύ,